They say the Leica SL Summicron 50mm is the sharpest Leica full-frame lens around. Well, now we got the Leica Q3 43 with an APO Summicron 43mm. So one is fixed on a camera, the other one is exchangeable on a camera that is a little bit bigger than the Q. If I would want to spend some $6,000 to $7,000 today for camera gear, these are the two items I would look at, and I would buy one of them. A comparison makes more sense than you might think. I got the Leica SL3 body and I got the Leica Q3 with the 28mm, and I love both of them. I do not own a dedicated Leica prime lens for the SL system yet. I like the 50mm focal length, and every time I want to use a prime lens on my SL body, I use the M lens with an adapter. Why this comparison makes sense? The Q3 and the SL3 both have the same 60 megapixels sensor. This also applies for the Q3 43, same sensor. So in my world, a 50mm on the SL3 and a 43mm on the Q3 are almost the same focal length and should give very similar results. Again, if I now had some $6,000 to $7,000, would I finally get a prime SL lens or would I get a Q3 43? This is a really hard question for me, and that's why I decided to do this video. In the end, I promise, I will have a clear preference. So let's start. Short disclaimer here, I got the Q3 43 and the SL50 APO from Alexander Görlitz from Photo Görlitz. Alex from time to time borrows me gear to make videos like this. He owns a Leica boutique in Bünde, Germany. For the past years, I bought all my Leica stuff with Alex. This video is not sponsored by him, I can say whatever I want. He does not see the video up front, he just gave me the gear to use it free for a few days. Comparison number 1, size and weight. Of course, the Q3 43 is smaller and lighter. If I put them on a scale, the Leica Q3 43 has 767 grams. The Leica SL3 with the APO 50 SL is 1555 grams, almost double the weight. Point for the Q3 43. Comparison number 2, autofocus. This is hard to show in a video because I cannot record Leica's menu or the little markers while taking pictures. Both cameras only have clean HDMI feeds. As far as my experience goes, they are both okay regarding autofocus. I like that I can set the SL on manual and still use the autofocus by assigning the focus on this function button, on the joystick button here. Of course, here it does not work because it's a manual lens, but when you have mounted an autofocus lens, you can set the lens on manual and still use the autofocus with this button. This is something I cannot do on the Q3. If you want to dive deeper into the menu settings of both the SL3 and Q3, I have several videos covering that topic. You can also download my settings for both cameras for free. I put links for everything in the description. Now back to the autofocus. I like the autofocus on the SL3 more because I have this setting. So this point goes to the SL system. Comparison number 3, focal length. How close are the 43 and the 50mm really? 7mm sounds not too much. I'm not a physicist, but my feeling is that the wider you get, the more different 7mm are. A 20mm is a big difference to a 13 or a 12mm, but a 100mm feels not that much a difference of a 107 or let's say a 105mm. I did several test shoots from exact the same position, and I was surprised how big the difference really is. The 43mm is clearly wider than the 50mm. With the 60 megapixel sensor, it gives me a slight advantage in post. From a characteristic point of view, I do not see a big difference. I made a comparison of the Leica Q3 28 and 43. There I would say a cropped 28mm picture compared to a native 43mm picture looks a lot different, because the distortion of the 28 just can't be hidden, I think. There was a lot going on in the comment section of that comparison video because of that issue. I think it's just physics. A cropped 28mm photo will never look like a 43mm, but in this case, I think a cropped 43mm is not looking different than a picture from a 50mm lens. This point goes to the Q3 43. Comparison number 4, functionality. One is an exchangeable lens, the other one is fixed on a body. I would say the point goes to the exchangeable one. But one lens has a macro function and the other one has not. It's a tie. Comparison number 5, sharpness. For that, we have to beam ourselves into Lightroom. We have here a selection of some comparison pictures in different situations. The blue ones are the 50 APOs, the green ones are the Leica Q3 43. We now have on the left side the 50 APO, on the right side the Q. So if I check, for example, here, we can already see a little bit difference in the color rendering. We'll talk about that later. But I would say if you just check the sharpness, it looks similar. Let's go see another picture where a little bit more is happening. Now we have the Q on the left side. On the right, we have the SL. If you go in here and we explore, for example, this tool here, you can see this is absolutely sharp and this is also looking very good. So let's check those two. We have this power box on the side and this on both looks, here the 50 is a little bit clearer, but maybe it has also to do with the distance. This looks all so good, both of them. Let's check out this one. Left we have the Q3 43 and on the right we have the SL3 with the 50. So if we go into the middle, this looks really good. The Q3 really fascinates me. So if we go more to the corners, it's sharp to the corners. I have some scientific tests as well. On the left side, we have the Q3 43. On the right side, we have the 50 APO again. In the center, it looks so sharp. And if I move it a little bit, it really starts to hypnotize me. When we are going in the corners, it also looks, for me, the same. If we go to the upper, I actually don't see a difference. In this corner, honestly, I'm a little advantage with the 50 APO in the corners, but I don't see a difference. If we stop down a little bit, let's say we go to a 5.6. They have no difference at all. If you look at the topic sharpness from a strictly analytic point of view, of course the points go to the 50 SL. But honestly, it's so close that even for me as a pixel nerd, I would say it's more a tie. Comparison number 6, color rendering. Before we come to that, if you are not the first time watching one of my videos and you are not a subscriber yet, please subscribe. It really helps me grow and doing videos like this. I had this crazy idea of making it to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Probably too crazy, but who knows? Liking the video also helps. Thanks. Now, color rendering. For this again, we need to go to Lightroom. You, for example, can see very good here in the sky blue. I hope you can see that on YouTube as well. So if I take those are a little bit edited, but for me it was really, really hard to find the same blue tone in the sky. So this is the Q3, and you can see in comparison to the SL3, I tried with the magenta to a little bit push it, but if I turn it down, it just turns green, and I have the same blue tone, but the house gets green. If I look at the house and I want to match the house, the sky changes. There's a little bit of difference in the magenta tones. I mean, today with editing, you can do so much, and if I check out those two, for example, again, you can see it in the blues, and I really had it, with every picture I had it different. Here, for example, I like the Q1 more because the yellow is more saturated in a way. I mean, I can, of course, work with the saturation, but it's just a little bit more crispy. When I check this, I also like the Q. I did not have the chance to bring in the yellow so much with the SL3. I really tried to match them, but the yellowish on the Q, I just like that more here. If we look at our phone booth again, here I would say it's the same. I don't have a preference here. If I go a bit closer, maybe I like the SL a little bit more because it's a little bit more saturated in this one. And we can see here the orange tone is a little bit different. Here it's also, with the color render, it's also hard for me to say if I have a preference. I don't have a clear preference. I can do it in the end. I can work and edit them until I like them. From a starting point, it depends a little bit on the scenery. So for me, there's no clear winner here. So another tie. Comparison number 7, price. In the US, the Q3 43 is $6,895 plus tax. By the way, did you already see that Leica has a new website design? Alex sells the Q3 43 in Germany for €6,750 including tax. The APO 50mm in the US is $5,095 before tax and €4,850 including tax with Alex. He also has it used for around €3,200. If you own an SL body, the 50 APO is the less expensive solution. If you do not own an SL, then the camera body comes on top. A new SL3 is $6,995 plus tax in US. A new SL2 you get for €2,999 including tax. So a used 50 APO and a new SL2 will get you slightly under a new Q3 43. Conclusion. It is really hard. I even lost track of my point system. So let's just talk about the conclusion. From a quality point of view, I think they are basically similar. I know the SL50 APO is the best and the sharpest around, but the Q3 43 APO is almost identical sharp. If you are like me and you own several camera bodies and always want to take everything with you, the APO really sounds like a tempting idea, because you just can leave back the zoom lens and only take the APO with you, and then you don't have everything with you, but you are lighter. But let me tell you, I love the Q system. I love my Q3 28mm and I'm definitely not ready to exchange that for a Q3 43. But, and this was the starting point of the video, if I had $6,000 to $7,000 at the moment and I wanted to buy some photo gear, it would definitely be the Q3 43. I don't have the money, so one day. Until then, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. If you want to see my Q3 43 and 28 comparison, check out this video or check out this video YouTube is randomly suggesting to you. In any case, stay curious.